Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to talk to you today about how the Haitian massacre that happened in 1804. And right now, there's some talk, Democracy Now!, Far Left News Network, Democracy Network, and Democracy Now!, the Far Left News Network, Democracy Now!, I subscribe to them. I've listened to what they have to say, whether if I agree with it or not. Well, they had, about 8 days ago, they had two guests on. One was University of Houston African American and Caribbean Studies professor Gerald Horne. Not a fan of a lot of his work, but I read what he has to say. He has a right to be heard, whether if I agree with it or not. Freedom of speech. And then they had a Haitian American professor at Fordham University who teaches African American and Caribbean studies there. They believe that France and the United States should pay reparations to Haiti. Well, we're going to start with France right now with addressing the Haitian massacre in 1804, which is one reason I don't believe that France should pay reparations to Haiti. And whether if I agree with it or not, when France demanded reparations from Haiti after the 1804 massacre, I can understand where France was coming from. Now, granted, before all this, they had slavery was a problem in Haiti before 1804. For many wealthy French landowners and plantation owners were in Haiti, and they enslaved a lot of Haitians. That's what made Haiti the wealthiest area in the Western Hemisphere at the time. The slavery there was pretty brutal. What would happen sometimes is a slave owner would kill one of his slaves to make an example of him, to get Haitian slaves to work. And a lot of times they would die from overwork. They were worked that much. Okay, and that was a disgrace. It was a scar. Should have not happened, and I don't blame Toussaint Louverture for leading the revolt and getting their independence from France, which is what happened. I don't blame him for doing that. And eventually, though, he was forced into the French army and forced into exile back into France shortly after Haiti's independence. Well, in retaliation, one of Toussaint Louverture's one of the most trusted lieutenants was Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And they implemented a lot of divide and conquer, and they got a lot of help from the Haitian mulattoes in this as well. And they went and massacred any French person, or basically almost any white person that decided to stay in Haiti after Haiti declared its independence from France. And there were quite a few that did. And not all of these people owned slaves. Not all of these people were racist towards black Haitians. And Jean-Jacques Dessalines led the massacre. A lot of these white people who chose to stay in Haiti, they got their limbs chopped off before they were killed. They died a slow and painful death, being tortured. And they killed many white women. They killed their white husbands in front of them, and then forced a lot of these white women to marry the people who killed their husbands. And so France was upset about this, and rightfully so. They didn't, the massacre, the people who did the massacre didn't separate the French who owned slaves and the ones who didn't, the ones who mistreated the slaves and the ones who didn't. And it was a pretty brutal massacre. So they demand reparations from Haiti, or they were going to take over Haiti again. And it was pretty heavy reparations. But that's why. They didn't just go wake up one day and say, we're demanding reparations from Haiti. No. This massacre, and it was an inexcusable massacre, is what happened. And I'm going to make more videos on this. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless them. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.